Good morning or good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. A warm welcome to the Women and Youth Conference that the African Airlines Association is staging today in partnership with Collins Aerospace. We are having this event today, 19th of October, and tomorrow, the 20th of October. We would have loved to meet you in person, but due to the existing travel restrictions and measures to contain the pandemic, a physical conference of this magnitude could not be possible at this time of the year. We are joined at this convention by over 280 registered participants from the air transport industry and the fraternity in Africa and across the globe. My name is Maureen Kahonge, Senior Manager, Business Development and Communications at AFRAA, and I will be your host for the program of activities for the next 2 days. Air transport is the backbone of many economies across Africa, and it is critical for the integration of the African continent. One of aviation's greatest potential markets is Africa. Africa has a young and rapidly urbanizing population of over 1.3 billion, and aviation is the best and sometimes the only option for efficiently connecting this huge market. Before the pandemic, Africa was among the fastest growth regions and has been estimated to grow at a rate of 4.6% over the next 20 years. Along came COVID, which has had severe and unprecedented impacts on the air transport industry. Industry stakeholders are working on coordinated efforts and measures towards swift recovery and support to the aviation industry to ensure a successful and efficient restart. As the industry seeks to put measures for the restart and to address the various challenges affecting African airlines, the subject of development of women and youth in aviation remains core at our priorities. On gender equity in aviation on one hand, women continue to be underrepresented in leadership roles in aviation and in highly specialized disciplines. On youth development, on the other hand, the development of skilled professionals in the aviation and aerospace industry in Africa is critical, as a large contingent of current aviation professionals will retire and the aviation growth will require more qualified and competent professionals. The continent needs to train, develop, and groom the youth to meet Africa's needs for tomorrow. The theme for this conference is Women and Youth Development in Aviation for a Sustainable Future. The conference will provide an ideal forum for air transport and industry stakeholders to dialogue, to exchange knowledge and experiences, and deliberate on feasible solutions to bridge the gender gap, and to develop young aviation professionals for the sustainability of the air transport industry. The agenda for day one activities will address the subject of development of women in aviation. The second day will address the subject of youth. It is the hope of AFRAA and Collins Aerospace that you will find this conference useful and productive. The sessions that have been lined up for today are as follows. We will start off with the opening ceremony, where we'll have speeches from Collins Aerospace representative, from IATA Regional Vice President for Africa, and from ICAO Eastern and Southern Africa Office Regional Director representative. We will have presentations from AFRAA, from ICAO, from IATA, and a panel to discuss the actions and interventions that can be taken to inspire, engage, and empower women in aviation. We will have a couple of executive interviews. We'll have an interview with Rwanda Air CEO, Ms. Yvonne Makolo, who will share with us her aviation story. We will have an interview with Collins Aerospace on their Morocco facility, and we'll also have an interview with Captain Irene Koki Mutungi, who will share with us her experience. Captain Irene is the first female on the African continent to become certified as a captain of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft. Before we start the day's activities, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to make a few housekeeping announcements. We are using the Cvent conferencing application for today's sessions. To join a particular session, please go to the attendee hub and click on the session of interest and play the live button. Each session is going to be on the application for the next 2 weeks. So if you miss a session, please, you're welcome to come and log in and access the session and follow the streaming that you missed. All sessions are being automatically recorded, therefore nothing will be missed out. The chat and the Q&A buttons are activated only during the live session. Please feel free to send us your comments, your questions using this facility. In terms of messaging, we're happy to inform you that you can network with all the registered participants. Please go to the attendee hub and you can send a message to one of the registered participants that you wish to get in touch with. We also have the exhibition component of the conference. We invite you to visit the exhibition area where you can see products, solutions, and latest technologies in aviation from various training entities. You can download brochures and view videos, as well as request for an appointment from some of the exhibitors. For technical support, please feel free to contact the Secretariat team who are at your disposal to give you support throughout the conference. At this juncture, we now proceed to the first session of the event, which is the opening ceremony. I wish to invite the AFRAA Secretary General, Mr. Abderrahman Berthe, to give his welcome remarks. Mr. Berthe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Maureen. Ms. Marisila Dixon, Senior Vice President, Chief Diversity Officer for Raytheon Technologies, representing the Collins Aerospace business. Mr. Kamil Alawadi, IATA Regional Vice President, Africa and the Middle East. Mr. Artemon Dikumana, Deputy Regional Director, representing Mr. Barika Shambo, ICAO ISAF Regional Director, representatives from airlines, industry partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. It is my great pleasure as the Secretary General of AFRAA to host this conference. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our sponsor, Collins Aerospace, and AFRAA teams in making this event come together. The theme of this conference is Women and Youth Development in Aviation for a Sustainable Future. The high number of attendees speaks of our common commitment to actively participate in one of the key priorities that will shape a sustainable future of the aviation industry. With the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, never than before, our industry needs such dynamic changes in women and youth development. As the industry puts in place measures for recovery of the air transport industry, the subject of attainment of gender equity and the development of skilled aviation professionals remain among the priorities on our agenda. In most African countries, youth unemployment occurs at a rate more than twice that for adults, according to the African Development Bank. Young women are even more affected by unemployment than young men. Investing in women and youth has a multiplier effect on productivity as well as sustainable growth. The ICAO and the UN Sustainable Development Goals underscore gender equity as a human right. This underlines the importance of women and girls' empowerment as essential to spur economic growth and promote social development. There is a need to make the aviation industry more gender balanced at the national, international, and global levels. This can be achieved through the full engagement of the industry stakeholders. For this to happen, governments, companies, organizations, and all development actors need to enter a meaningful process of concrete actions. In closing, I hope this workshop will provide a space for stakeholders, experts, to share views and experiences on the subject matter, derive recommendations and actions for implementation by the industry. Thank you very much and have a fruitful conference. Over to you, Maureen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abderrahman Berté, AFRAA Secretary General, for your welcome remarks. Next on the lineup of the keynote speeches is the speech from our event sponsor, Collins Aerospace. I have the honor to invite Ms. Marie Sila Dixon, Senior Vice President, Chief Diversity Officer for Raytheon Technologies, representing the Collins Aerospace business, to make her keynote speech. Sila, you have the floor.
Thank you, Marin, and good morning. In 1969, a young man boarded an airplane to Abidjan, headed to New York City in the United States. At the time of his trip, the young man did not speak English. He was traveling to the States to study engineering, seeking a better life for himself and the ability to better support his family back home. 6 years later, the man returned to Côte d'Ivoire, but this time he was accompanied by his new wife from Baltimore, Maryland, and their young baby. That man was my father. After that initial trip, my family proceeded to travel between the United States and the Ivory Coast, where I was born, throughout my childhood. Thinking back to those times and what I've heard and remember about those trips, one of the things that fascinates me the most about that 1975 trip to Côte d'Ivoire was that was my mom's first time flying on an airplane and going to another country, even though she had studied aerospace and aviation. My parents were trailblazers, and their careers totally altered the trajectory of our lives. My father was an electrical engineer, and my mother was a computer scientist in aerospace and aviation, where they were one of the onlys at the time. And they taught me early on about the power of education and innovation. Their professional experiences and our frequent travel back and forth framed for me at a very early age a deep understanding about the global power, importance, and significance of aviation and aerospace, especially in the continent of Africa. As the Global Chief Diversity Officer of Raytheon Technologies and Collins Aerospace, I now have the unique ability to help bring greater diversity and inclusion to the aerospace industry. My parents' lives provided a rich foundation for my work today, and I'm proud to carry forward their legacy at Raytheon Technologies and Collins Aerospace, where we strive daily to solve some of the world's most pressing problems and to keep people safe and connected. Their experiences showed me how the industry can provide personal and global economic transformation and connectivity. And it's my distinct privilege to help others realize the transformative power of aviation as a force multiplier for change in their lives. At Raytheon Technologies and Collins Aerospace, we're committed to creating a global culture of innovation and belonging that's deeply rooted in establishing collaborative environments where everyone feels safe, valued, respected, and included. We have taken a holistic approach to diversity, equity, inclusion, one that touches a complete ecosystem of impact and is rooted in 4 pillars for action, revolving around workforce development with the focus specifically on gender equality. Through our participation in our Paradigm for Parity, which is a commitment that we have made to have parity in executive leadership positions by 2020. Supplier diversity, investing in small businesses that will put investment back into the communities. Community impact, helping to grow the future generation of STEM and aviation leaders for the future, and public policy advocacy. As we continue to advance our work and evolve our approach, we remain grounded in the belief that diversity, equity, inclusion are critical to having the best workforce and serving our customers and the communities where we live, work, and serve. It is critically important for women and young people being able to see yourself respected in the fields you work in or the careers you aspire to. It's critical for you to achieve your success. Right now, around the world, there are not enough women or women of color represented within the aviation industry. We must take intentional steps to close the gender gap and pave new paths for women and young people in this space. This is a universal problem that must be solved for us to achieve true equity. The International Society of Women Airline Pilots reports that just 5.8% of pilots worldwide are women, and it's taken a long time to even reach that level of representation. Likewise, for women in the aviation industry, too many report having negative experiences associated with bias, and not enough are given the opportunity to achieve leadership positions. We must change this now more than ever, especially as we continue to recover from the global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a unique opportunity to increase the participation of women and young people in aviation roles in Africa, including in leadership positions and as air traffic controllers, pilots, captains, and engineers. At Collins Aerospace, our leaders see the challenge of gender equity and are taking active steps to make inclusivity and parity the norm. Especially in Africa, we see a ripe opportunity to not only bolster the aviation industry, but to do so while being more gender inclusive in the process. Steve Tim, the president of Collins Aerospace, has spent some time in several African countries and believes deeply in the power and importance of investing in women and young people. On a mission to redefine aerospace, the Collins team is taking meaningful steps to inspire youth, invest in their workforce, and help strengthen the communities in which we operate. Believing that Africa is an exciting continent with huge potential for growth in the aviation industry, Collins is supporting local industry and helping to train local talent while supporting women's empowerment. With airline profitability for the region improving significantly, leading up to the start of the recovery, and 60% of Africa's population under the age of 25, companies like ours in the aviation industry generally have a unique opportunity to view greater investments in STEM and education equity initiatives as part of our longer-term business strategy. Doing so not only increases the pool of potential for talent for our industry, but it also helps bring greater economic transformation to the continent. And with initiatives underway, like ADA's 25 by 25, and with 4 African airlines having women at the helm, I'm encouraged that progress will be made. However, more work needs to be done. I was inspired by last year's Ethiopia Airlines flight, where there was a crew entirely crewed by women on a trip from Addis to Washington Dulles Airport. These are the kinds of images we need to see more of, and the kinds of cultures we ought to adopt and enable gender parity and greater diversity It's not just good to do. They are an imperative for our global economy. This is such an exciting time to be in the aviation industry. We know that the recovery from the impact of COVID on our industry will be hard. We also know that over the past 20 months, aviation and aerospace have taken significant hits in terms of job loss and an inability to fill new roles as flights rebound. Increasing opportunities for young people and women to enter and thrive in this space is vital to the future success and sustainability of this industry. Together, our industry's global economic recovery will only be strengthened by our embrace of women and young people, creating new opportunities for them to enter the sector. And once they're in, making sure there is a path and process in place for them to ascend to the leadership ranks. African airlines are uniquely positioned to be a major catalyst in the development of our industry's future workforce. Amid our global transformation, where African countries are often among the leaders of digital adoption and the use of disruptive technologies, we get to prime the new aviation workforce to be prepared for the future of work and leading edge STEM innovations. And we can ensure that gender equity lies at the heart of that transformation as well. You're going to hear today from some incredible speakers and throughout this event, including several of my peers from Collins Aerospace. I encourage you to listen attentively and think about the things that you can do to increase the presence of women and young people in aviation and aerospace. If you're a student, I want you to think about how you can increase your interaction with STEM subjects. We need you to succeed. We need you to be future role models. If you're a leader, who can you mentor and provide new paths to opportunity? We need you to help uplift the next future generation. If you're an investor or lead a company, what kinds of strategies might you employ to ensure that rural and traditionally disconnected communities get a chance to participate in the new wave of economic opportunity that we see coming in the next 20 years? We each have a role to play in uplifting others across the continent, in our specific regions, and around the industry. Aviation and aerospace are the future. They shaped my reality as a little girl, and today I'm excited to collaborate with all of you along this journey. Please have a great day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie, for that very powerful speech. Indeed, education is power, and sharing with us what Collins Aerospace is doing to make this reality to youth and the various diverse activities and deliberate actions that Collins Aerospace is taking to drive the agenda of gender diversity and gender equity. We now move to the next speech, the keynote speech on behalf of ICAO Regional Director for Eastern and Southern Africa Office, to be made by Mr. Athemon Ndikumana. Athemon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Maureen. Mr. Abdrahman Belte from AFRAA, Mr. Kamil Arawadi, Regional Vice President, Africa and the Middle East, IATA, Ms. Marisira Dixon from Collins Aerospace Business, dear participants and the colleagues from ICAO. On behalf of ICAO President, ICAO Secretary General, and the entire ICAO fraternity, I wish to express my heartfelt appreciation to AFRAA and the Collins Airspace for co-organizing the AFRAA Women and Youth in Aviation Conference under the theme Women and Youth Development for Sustainable Future. Let me first extend my gratitude to Mr. Abdurrahman Belte for the opportunity to give a goodwill message at a time when the aviation industry is recovering from a devastating halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Aviation already contributes greatly to peace, prosperity, and sustainable development all over the world. It can do even more for the entire society and especially for women. The vast global scope and forecast growth of worldwide for air transport operations recovery indicate that the optimal performance of the sector relies at its core on highly skilled technical and managerial professionals. In order to meet its future needs, air transport must first become a better example of gender equality in action. Currently, women are still underrepresented in the majority of the technical and executive positions in aviation. ICAO encourages states and the industry to foster partnerships with relevant stakeholders and education institutions with the aim of identifying long-term human resources needs and establishing strategies to attract, educate, and retain in the sector aviation professionals while considering the need to enhance gender equality within the global aviation community. While the current imbalance may be a challenge to choose, those of us who already serving as professionals in this sector, it is also an opportunity for the next generation of girls now completing their studies and entering the workforce. ICAO actively contributes to the implementation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals number 5 on achievement of gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. ICAO compliant air connectivity serves as a catalyst for sustainable development and the achievement of 15 of the 17 United Nations Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. In line with this, ICAO, in collaboration with the USA, provided training to African states on various aviation courses, focusing on to engage women in aviation in 2021. Girls, therefore, are encouraged to follow the footsteps of Captain Irene Koki Mutungi, to paraphrase what the Master of Ceremony just said in the opening of this activity. The female on the African continent to become a certified captain of Boeing 787, the Dreamliner, who fortunately is among us, and also to follow the footsteps of Captain Alexandra Lima, the first female of the African continent to become certified as a captain of the Boeing 777, who unfortunately is not with us. There is normally a relation between innovation, youth, and gender equality. They both matter for the aviation industry. Gender equality is a foundation for innovation. Gender equality as an essential component of innovation policy leads towards greater socioeconomic development. The Young Aviation Professional Program is a special development program targeted for the next generation of aviation professionals. ICAO implements the program in conjunction with IATA and the ACI. It contributes with the satisfaction to the development of the rapidly growing talent and innovation needs of the global aviation community. The expected results of the next generation of aviation professionals is to achieve increased air transport digitalization, promote critical efficiencies and capacity, which improve the aviation sector's capabilities as a catalyst for socioeconomic and sustainability benefit. Innovation provides, among others, the foundation for the next generation of autonomous aircraft, drones, artificial intelligence, and its transformation that unmanned aircraft system, UAS, which will lead in terms of professional mobility, e-commerce, civilian community services, and many other applicants. Innovation and digitalization are set to play such an important role in how we restart and recover on a more sustainable path, and at even increasing rate, ICAO is embracing it today as never before. The trend prior to COVID-19 pandemic that anticipated shortage of skilled aviation professionals in the near future will become again a reality. In order to address this important issue, ICAO, through next generation of aviation professionals initiative, is looking forward to ensuring enough qualified and competent aviation professionals are available to operate, manage, and maintain the future international air transport system. At this juncture, I would like to thank you for your attention and I wish you fruitful outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atemon Ndikumana, for making the speech on behalf of ICAO SAF Regional Director, who was not able to join us. We have on the lineup IATA RVP, Africa and Middle East, for a keynote speech. However, due to technical challenges, Mr. Camille is not able to join us for this opening ceremony. We will now proceed to the day's activities, and when Mr. Camille will be online, we will give him the floor to make his speech.